Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what is up with a capital U, a capital P, lots of exclamation points. Well, actually, maybe some question marks because it's a question, but nonetheless, man, we're so thrilled to be with you. This is the last week of the preseason as the Pittsburgh Steelers play one more game in the next 4 days. I'm so excited because the regular season is upon us. What is it? 20 days from today that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be playing for real. That's big stuff. And my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. I'm the podcast producer here at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and I'm so thrilled to have you with us. Congratulations to Brad Jewett, the first one in on us, giving us some double peace signs. So I appreciate that. Brad, it's good to see you here in the live chat along with everybody else. It's kind of roll in, but it's also great to see Mr. Shannon White and Mr. Tony Defeo. What is up, fellas? Let's start with you, Shannon. What's going on, man?
Just been hot today. I think with all
it's a scorcher
bad weather, for us, mid-80s is hot, and it's all that bad weather coming up the coast is just keeping all the hot, humid air right above us. So it's been warm.
And speaking of hot, a guy who's been hot for every decade since the 1970s, Tony Defeo. What is up, man?
Just hanging out, and I had my car in the shop all day, and I did a lot of reading, so it was a pretty quiet Monday. And Shannon's right. I went outside to walk to get my car, and I couldn't. That's the only exercise I needed today.
So it's not the heat; it's the humidity that gets you. So yeah. When you're at the bar, it's the humidity of Tony Defeo that is going to score. You have ladies have no chance with the humidity.
No, that's true. Although lately it's been like a drought, so I need some rain.
Well, then again, humidity is not a good thing then, because humidity is a lot of hot air, so that's not good.
Right. Well,
so let's just say this, Tony. I don't think that you're as bad as what I was back in the 90s at one point when pop singers got together to do a tribute album for me. That's how much of a drought I was in. So with that being said, and we're good to go. You're good. I tell you, you're fine. I'm rooting for you. So with that being said, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm getting old, so I think I might have to retire and just go into full-fledged troll mode on the internet.
Well,
so
you know what? There might be. I found a woman on the internet the other day that might be perfect for you. The only problem was she was berating the guy she was with and getting in a fight at Heinz Field. So that might not be the best possibility for you.
I saw her, and I saw that, and I was so taken that I sent one of those connection things on Craigslist. I saw you, whatever it was. So it's taken care of. So we'll see what happens.
If you like to yell and start fights at Heinz Field, you're the woman for me, Tony Defeo. Unfortunate event. We're not going to get into all of that, but police are investigating that. So here you go. Jeffrey Benedict says here, Bad Aid was a great concert. The great Jeffrey Benedict. Check out his show tomorrow on BTSC. Another great show. One, but that's really funny. Bad Aid. Who would perform at Bad Aid? A lot of great artists, I think. A lot of 80s artists at Bad Aid. All right. So the week that was, man, I tell you what, the Steelers are now 3-0 in the preseason, which that doesn't mean a thing. But winning's still good in the preseason. Winning feels good in the preseason, but it's how you play the game. And the most important thing to me, fellas, was how that first team offense looked. And I have to say, Ben Roethlisberger at points looked like vintage 2008 Ben, getting out of trouble, throwing the ball. Eric Ebron did not catch that, but that's not a problem. Right now, they still had a good showing in that game. Also, we will go ahead and look at one of his great receivers now, tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Man, I'm going to start with you, Tony. How confident are you in the Ben to Pat Ben standing pat with Freiermuth.
Well, I mean, I was impressed. Obviously, I was impressed with Ben. Speaking of being taken, but the body control that he showed on both of those touchdowns and the athleticism. I mean, that was just obviously he needed a great quarterback to fit the ball in there, but he showed a lot of. I mean, he has just an unbelievable streak in the red zone going back to whenever at the Penn State as far as catching every pass thrown to him. So I'm very excited about him, and people were so focused on his blocking. I don't think that's where you should be looking when it comes to Freiermuth. I think you should be excited about the fact that he might be a really great weapon for them sooner rather than later in the passing game.
You know what? I'm going to ask a guy in the live chat here. I'm going to ask our good friend Brad Jewett, who's a big Penn State fan, who was at the campus, and give us a scouting report on paper here. Tell us what you think about Pat Freiermuth, because I haven't talked to you about Pat yet. I know you're a big Nittany Lion fan. So, Brad, go ahead and throw something in the comment section. Love to hear it, because I'm really excited about this guy. Shannon White, what was your assessment of number 88?
I wrote in my Steelers Stock Report article about this. The Steelers have had so many incredible accomplishments through the years, but they've never had one of the big tight end quarterback combos, like your Brady Gronk or your Rivers Gates or, any of them guys that are up and down the record books. The Steelers have never had that guy to pair with Bradshaw or Ben. And I'm not putting Freiermuth in that category yet, but he's going to be a weapon in the red zone because, like Tony said, I think he's not dropped a red zone pass during his tenure at Penn State. And they say at camp he catches everything, especially around, when it's time, opportunity to score. So I think that could just be a great connection. He had incredible body control to twist and turn and bring those contested catches in, even through contact. And Ebron should pay attention to Freiermuth, because on Ben's Houdini act there, he should have brought that ball in, especially after your quarterback, goes through all that to get it to you. So I'm super excited about that connection. That could be a lot of touchdowns in the near future.
Now, Brad Jewett says he catches everything bad. He battled a shoulder all last year, and apparently that's flared up in camp this year, but the kid catches everything in. So that's great. Thanks for that assessment, Brad. Love to see him. Now, here's the interesting question. If Kevin Rader doesn't stick with the team, does Patty Freiermuth go back to 87? Or does he stick with 88? And here we go. Dallas just asked that, and I did not see that. That's great. So I'm going to give Dallas Quinley, who's obviously a Prince fan. That's a great avatar there. Will Freiermuth go to 87 if Radar is cut? Man, Dallas and I are on the same page. Tony, do you think he keeps the number 88?
I could see him switching back. It seems like that's what they usually do in that situation. But I think he looks badass, and if I'm allowed to say that word, in the 88. I mean, I know it's no slight to Lynn Swan. We all know he's the best 88 ever, but I think he looks really great in that 88. So I'd stick with that if I were him. But I'm no fashion expert.
Well, being the fact that you just did say it, I guess you can. Shannon, whether he's 87 or 88, can he be a guy that you talk about when you're talking about Gronks and talking about Kelce's and talking about the Ertzes of the world and maybe even the George Kittles?
If he's even close, if he's on that second tier, but right below those guys, Heath Miller's the best tight end in Steelers history, but Heath wasn't a great run after the catch guy. He caught everything. He was very reliable, but he was an excellent blocker as well. I think Freiermuth has the potential to be that kind of blocker, but I think he might have a little bit more athleticism, to get those yards after the catch. So he might not be on their level, but I'd be happy with, tier 2, just a little below that even.
Very nice. Very nice. So lots of things to talk about. Before we move on with some of the news of the day and get into the topic of the show, let me ask you this, fellas. What were your main takeaways from the game against the Detroit Lions the other night? Shannon, I'll start with you.
Well, we were all impressed with Ben. And I was like, they did a lot of 11 personnel. And he mixed it up. He took some stuff from the shotgun. He took some snaps from center. I was expecting a rollout, which he scrambled at one time, but it wasn't I didn't see a design rollout yet. But that's all coming. There'll be a lot of formation and resets and shifts. But you don't show all that in the preseason. But I thought Ben looked sharp, especially for the very first action this preseason. So the line is a work in progress. This team offensively is going to go as far as their line can take them. And I think that Turner showed some improvement, and Banner seemed more comfortable, getting confidence in that knee. Green is still raw. He's only had 4 starts as a center in college, so he's still learning to be able to snap the ball and anchor against larger defenders. That's something that he's not had to do. So Okafor's the big concern on the line, and so I feel positive about a lot of the things, but I like their aggressive attitude and mindset. But they're it's just going to take time. They're going to have to be patient. But defensively, Schobert, as long as he ain't matched up with super fast slot receivers, which we don't want to see that, but he brings a lot to that defense and will be a real asset next to Bush. So I felt really positive about it. Preseason results don't matter, but as far as the execution, but the competitiveness does, and they've been competing each week. So
there's a really interesting thing that you just said, and I said it earlier that, the results don't matter, but they're still good. I mean, you still want that W, but here's the thing. If the Steelers end up losing that game, maybe the Lions hit another onside kick, and then all of a sudden they get a touchdown and they win that game by 1 with the extra point. Here's the thing that I'm saying. It does not matter in that game because of what happened in the first quarter of play. Mm-hmm. And that is the most important thing to me. And that's what we were looking for out of this game. We were looking to see how Ben Roethlisberger looked. We liked the way he looked. We loved the way that Pat Freiermuth. We loved the way that Kendrick Green. We loved the way that Dan Moore Jr. And of course, we loved what the other rookie, I just mentioned 3 rookies, the guy picked in front of all of them, Najee Harris, looked. So I'm really thrilled about that. Tony, I'm going to ask you this question. Do we need to see Ben Roethlisberger again this preseason?
No, I think he showed me all he needed to show me. I think he looked phenomenal in that game. He looks in shape. He looks athletic. He looks quick in the pocket. His arm looks great. He medium range passes, and he had that long bomb to Deontay Johnson. He did his, like Shannon said, his Houdini act, which was, I'll repeat what everybody else said, vintage Ben from the late 00s. He's just one of the best. There are very few quarterbacks, even to this day, who could have escaped the way he did and threw that ball on the money to Eric Ebron. So I don't think we need to see him anymore. I've seen enough. Even if he does play in this game, which he's not going to, but if he does play, it's still 2 weeks before the start of the regular season. So whatever rust you're going to shake off, it's going to be back by the time September 12th rolls around. So no, I don't think we need to see him.
One thing that you have not mentioned as well is this. And if you know what I'm doing, the vintage pump fake.
That was unbelievable. By the way, Katie Gaze, the cameraman, was having a bad night, but they kept getting faked out. But that was, I don't blame anybody for that one. That was a fantastic pump fake. And apparently he didn't mean to do it, but who cares? I mean, the fact that he held onto the ball like that and then threw a pass to Freiermuth was fantastic.
I'm going to say that he did a good job because the pump fakes you out.
Yeah,
you're not supposed.
Well, no, I mean,
he's not supposed to go for that.
Right. Yeah, that's that speaks well for Roethlisberger's ability to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got a lot of questions coming in. So I'm calling an audible here, and what we're going to do for the rest of the first half, we're going to talk about what our subject is of this game, what the Steelers need to do, what are the top priorities in the next 20 days before September 12th and the Buffalo Bills. Then we're going to go and answer a whole bunch of questions. We're going to do Q&A. This show was also called the Q&A at one point, and we just decided let's just call it the Hangover. So we're going to do some Q&A, and we're going to have lots of fun with that. So if you have a question that we did not answer yet, since we didn't answer any questions as of yet, we will go ahead and answer that. Like Willie Wadley, I see you, buddy. Our thoughts about McFarland. We will get to all of that. So go ahead in the next 10 minutes. You can go ahead and throw in some questions there as well. And we will talk about everything. News of the day, though, I just want to bring this up real quick. Yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers former quarterback Devlin Duck Hodges was waived by the Rams today. So he is on the market with the crowded quarterback room. And somebody just mentioned that this is the best backup quarterback situation that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in a long time. And I don't remember who said it. It was Stegmaster J who said that. So the best QB situation that the Steelers have had. So that's the news. Also, we're not going to get too much into the TJ Watt situation because it is right now a rumor, but the big rumor coming out right now from Jerry Dulac is the fact that Mr. TJ Watt around the Carolina game, before or right after, which is 5 days from now, will sign the biggest defensive contract in not just Pittsburgh Steelers history, but in the league. So not the history of the league, but in the league right now. So that's really interesting. So we are going to go through all those questions, but guys, what needs to go on right now in the next 20 days? Tony, I'll start with you.
Well, I think, and it's probably already decided, but I think you have to make it clear who the backup quarterback is. I think that's important because you need that guy to get all the second team reps that he can before the season starts. I think it's going to be Mason Rudolph based on just the fact that he started the first two games and he played a lot in the second game, and Haskins didn't really get to play a lot. That's, of course, a lot of that had to do with that Lions drive to start. I think it was to start the third quarter or something like that. It was like a really long drive. It cut into his playing time, but I think that's what you gotta work out between now and the start of the regular season. I really would love to see Haskins start this game on Friday and play the entire first half. Anyway, I just really, not that he's going to have a lot of ones to play with, but it would be nice to see him play the entire first half. Just for sure.
Let me ask you this question. Say Mason Rudolph starts. Do you think that he would start for a reason, thinking that they might be moving him? They might be showcasing him to move him because they've got a wealth of talent. You've got guys like A.J. McCarron, the backup in Atlanta, going down for the year. Do you think that could be a possibility, Tony?
A small one, but I think they really like him. Honestly, I think Mike Tomlin really likes. I mean, he likes Dwayne Haskins too, but I think they remember these guys have egos, and they trade up to get him right in the third round, and they said they had a first round grade on him. So I think they're really invested in him. So I think they want to keep him around for the year. But I could see, you never know. I mean, I could see them if a good offer came about and they really believe in Dwayne Haskins, his abilities, and being the guy that could take the baton from Ben, so to speak, in the future, then I could see them doing that. But I think it'd be pretty slim chance right now.
Shannon, what do you think is on the list of priorities going forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers as we go through not just the Carolina game, but it could be anything leading up to the preseason, the first game of the season against Buffalo on the 12th of September?
Well, they definitely want to get the Watt situation taken care of to decide. I think still the best option, based on what I've seen thus far in the preseason, would be to start Pierre at cornerback 2 and move Sutton into the slot where he's proven and a lot of times people with our defense, the Steelers ask their cornerbacks to do a lot. Mainly, keep the play in front of them. Sometimes they'll give up a play and make the tackle immediately. And people's like, oh, they give up the reception. But that was actually what they wanted, if it was short of the sticks. Because they're really relying on their pass rush, which the Steelers have had the best pass rush for the last 3 or 4 years. They're relying on that pressure to create sacks, incompletions. And so they ask their quarterbacks to play a little passive sometimes. But I think that you could trust Sutton in the slot because he has experience there, and have Pierre on the outside. As far as the offense goes, I still believe they have to solidify the offensive line to have a set pecking order. Right now, they're saying Okafor's going to be the left tackle, but Okafor has not responded to Clem's mission statement. He's not being more aggressive. He's still being passive. He doesn't attack. He absorbs the action. It all comes to him. And then if he wants the plays by him, he doesn't continue to, pursue and try to push from behind or pick off another defender. If you've been paying attention, you'll see Green and Coward and all those guys are doing that. They're playing to the whistle and beyond in a few cases. He's still playing like it was last year. He's still standing around watching. And I just don't know if he has the intensity, if it's just not in his personality or his demeanor to be more aggressive. But if not, with Buffalo coming up soon to start the season, they got to make a decision because he may be the swing tackle and they have to start more. So I would like them to make sure that they got that line as good and as comfortable as possible before that first game.
You know what? I was going to wait until you were finished. And when you were finished, I did not know you were going to the left tackle situation there. But what I was going to do is I was going to say, hey, when we come back after the break, I'm going to talk about a camp battle that actually isn't. And it is between Chuks Okorafor and Dan Moore Jr. The reason that I'm bringing that up right now is late last week, they moved Dan Moore Jr. over to the right side. Doesn't mean that he can't win that left tackle situation, but makes me wonder exactly what's going to be happening at left tackle. Do they have another thing up their sleeve? Would they possibly consider switching Banner with Chuks Okorafor? Would they possibly, and maybe still not start Dan Moore Jr.? Would they just go with a rookie after just moving him? I mean, I think they can move back, but I'm wondering right now because a lot of people, I mean, throughout the whole time, a lot of people were talking about Dan Moore at left tackle, and I'm not sure if they still view him in that position, but we don't know. But it would be really interesting to see what could happen there. As far as everything else goes, there are Dallas Quinley just said, would they trade Banner? You never know what they can do. We haven't seen a lot of Banner. We saw a very little bit of him the other day. It also makes me wonder if Dan Moore Jr. is being moved over to right tackle because maybe they feel that Banner might not be ready. That could be, he was the first one. He was taken out before Ben Roethlisberger was. So there are so many things that we could speculate on, but I have a feeling that Okafor is going to start off the year at left tackle, but you don't know. But with that being said, fellas, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a break. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, we're not going anywhere. You just stick around. So if you are checking us out on any of our podcast platforms, anywhere where you download your favorite podcast, I hope BTSC is in your library. I hope BTSC is one of your favorites. And just go ahead and check us out and download number 2. We will be right back right after this, and we'll talk to you in a moment. Welcome back to Tales from 2 a.m. if it was yesterday, so welcome back to The Hangover. I'm Bryan Anthony Davis from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and it's good to hear from you. So, gosh, man, I'm stuck on Sunday, I guess. Maybe the weekend was too good that I'm thinking about that show, so I was all excited about the Steelers' victory over Detroit, maybe, and the great showing from guys like Big Ben and we need a good nickname for Pat Freiermuth. I know everybody's calling him Muth. That's cool, but I think we need a cool nickname for him. And of course, Najee needs a nickname too. So we need some nicknames for these guys. So maybe that could be a thing that hashtag Bad Company could think of, and the guys on The Hangover could think of as well, and the girls on The Hangover. So somebody just mentioned, Portner just mentioned, Bad, I think you have a case of overthinkitis on the whole thing with him moving him over. When I say him, Dan Moore Jr. So yeah, maybe I do. They want to use more as a swing tackle, is what Portnoy said. And hey, that's definitely a possibility. And then I've got to bring up one of the greats here, one of the guys that we rely on, and he just reminds everybody, you can't trade linemen. Jeffrey Benedict says it's a 17-game season now. You need that depth. That's definitely true. I don't think you trade a lineman at this point. You definitely don't. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a look at let's see. Dallas Quinley just said Friar Tuck. That is a really good name. And Kathy Ford said somebody called him Friar Tuck. I like that. Really interesting. That's funny. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go back towards the beginning, see some of these questions here. And if you have some questions, we'll go ahead and answer them. We're going to move to a Q&A. Shannon and Tony might be better than this than I do, but let's go ahead and see some of the good stuff that we have, and some of the good comments too. We'll be glad to bring up. My gosh, your questions are great. Mike Smith asked this: anyone worried about Ben's air yards? Laugh out loud. And that's not really a question. He's bringing up maybe a comment that Charlie Batch made, like, hey, are you worried about him throwing the deep ball? Because it's not going to be a problem. So I think he proved that his arm was fine. Would you agree, fellas?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with his arm.
You don't do that that hard if your elbow's bothering you at all. So yeah, he's got a lot of zip to be able to have his body motion and lean coming forward like that and still get that much on that pass. His arm's fine.
Okay, a couple questions from Dallas from the beginning of the show. Snell or Samuels, who stays, who goes, and do we keep Washington and resign him or trade him? I'm going to start with Shannon.
I think Snell's gone.
He's not on the field. And like Dave Schofield says, you can't make the club from the tub.
Yeah. And he's, Samuels has some history with Canada, and he's had some, he has versatility, but I think your top three guys is Harris, McFarland is a change of pace, and Balaj, because he's like a doppelganger for Harris, size, speed, and running style. So I think that's your top three. After that, I'm not sure.
Tony, do they both go, Samuels and Snell, or do one of them get to stick around?
I think, like to echo what Shannon said, I think Samuels just brings more to the table, and I think he can fill a lot of different roles that, position flexibility, and he plays special teams. So I think he sticks around if they keep four backs, he's the one that's going to stick around. I could see them going with three if you want to keep somebody else at a different position, because you can always pick somebody up, if you have injuries. But there's so many injuries at that position. I'd be more comfortable if I were them with four on the roster.
Leonardo Torres says, do you think any starters will play on Friday? Actually, he doesn't say it. He asks it. Tony, I'll start with you.
Actually, I think they're going to play Shooks a lot. I think they want to see him, and I think they're going to play Kendrick Green again. I think they want to be sure about that. Not that they're going to make a determination necessarily on Friday, because there's still a couple weeks to go. But I think there's Green and Shooks are going to be starting. Beyond that, I don't see anybody else. I think you sit Alex Highsmith. I think he's proven he has what it takes to be the starter. He's the replacement for Bud. I don't see anybody else, honestly. I think you sit them all. Ebron, you don't need to play him. You don't even need to play the rookie tight end anymore. Muth, I think you want to keep him in bubble wrap until the start of the year with that shoulder. So no, I think just the Shooks Shooks and Green.
Shannon, anything to add?
I think all the offensive line, just based on the situation as is, I think they're still learning and gelling. So I think they'll all play. How much, I'm not sure. Banner might just play limited again, but to continue to try to build trust in that leg. Anybody that's proven, comfortable, established starters, you're going to keep them out pretty much. And, because this last preseason game is really to get a look at the fringe roster type guys and to set up your depth. So you don't want to have them starters out there.
All right. Willie Wadley asked this question. Hey, guys, would you start Pat over Ebron? And we've talked a lot about the tight ends here. So, Shannon, I'm going to ask you that. I mean, it's not in their scheme to go ahead and start the rookie over Ebron, because they're probably going to use both of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they're going to use a lot more 12 personnel this year. Of course, Ben loves 11 personnel. But I think they'll have two tight ends out there a lot. So I don't think it's really going to matter who starts, because Ebron is basically a big wide receiver, whereas Freiermuth is more of a true tight end. But, yeah, they're both going to get a lot of snaps.
Connor Eddy gives us a super chat, $4.99. Do they trade in the draft to get Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame to replace Terrell Edmunds next season? Thank you for the $4.99. That's with the preseason just ending, it's really tough to say. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that question right now. That's probably something that we'll revisit, and I'll give you a free one on that in the after the season ends. But right now, I don't think that they are even thinking about that. I would say right now that they are not looking to replace Terrell Edmunds. I think they're looking to see how Terrell Edmunds shows up. And you could probably get him at a decent price next year, but there's a lot of value in Terrell Edmunds alongside being the Ryan Clark possibly to Troy Polamalu, which is in this case Minkah Fitzpatrick. So what I'm saying, no, I'm not saying that he is Ryan Clark, but he complements him well, just like Clark complemented Polamalu. Gentlemen, is that something that you would agree with there?
Absolutely. I'm a fan of Edmunds. I mean, he's not spectacular, but he's really good. And as we keep saying, if he was a second or a third round pick, nobody would people would probably like him more. If I were them, I'd try to get a deal done with him after next season. I wouldn't be trying to trade up to get this safety from Notre Dame. I just think you have a good starter. You don't need to try to upgrade at every position. If you have a solid starter, I think you're okay there.
I think safety is one of those positions too that you don't absolutely have to trade up for unless it's somebody that you're in complete love with. Shannon, thoughts?
Yeah, again, I like Edmunds a lot. He's solid. He's a good complement to Fitzpatrick, and Minkah loves to play with him. They have a good connection there. So I think he has more value to the Steelers than he will any other team. But because he doesn't put up the big numbers, I think he should be affordable. Honestly, I haven't even started to, look at who might be coming out in the draft yet. at the safety position. So I couldn't make an educated comment about that young man from Notre Dame, but I do think that Edmonds is going to have a solid year because of that connection.
Where's Wilbar? We need Andrew Wilbar. He's Andrew Wilbar is our guy. We need him in here for that. So to talk about prospects. So I think he's moving into the dorm. So so we'll get him another time. Did Freiermuth streak? Asks James Pillow. And when Mason threw the interception on the incompletion on 3rd and goal. Do you think so, Shannon?
Well, that wasn't on Rudolph. That was on, the line. They had a overload blitz, and everybody tried to pick up somebody, and they left a huge gap between Green and Finley, because Finley picked up his guy, but Green didn't get a good enough piece of his. He didn't try to ride him through. And so Rudolph had to get rid of that ball. So, it wasn't a good throw. But if they would have been a better pass, I think he would have scored on that, because, he had the inside on him, and there was nothing between him and the goal line. He would have drug that guy in, I believe.
Tony, where does Juju line up once Claypool is healthy? Ask Dallas Quinley.
Oh, I think he's got to be in the slot. I think he's such a valuable slot receiver for them. And you saw some of the tough catches he made the other day. And that crackback, he wasn't a crackback, but they kind of, is that where they called a penalty and then picked it up? That was a nice block.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That was a great block. Yeah, so I think you want him in the slot when I can't talk, when Claypool comes back.
So Richard Doucette asked this question. This is what I'm going to take. Do we have any trade capital left? We have lost a lot of late picks next year. Only options for 2023 picks, maybe Washington. So here's the thing. I said this on Fact or Fiction the other day. I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kevin Colbert are going to be making any trades to bring anybody else in at this point. Sorry, anybody that wants Stephon Gilmore. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that he's going to make some deals. There's a lot of depth on this team. I'm not completely sold that they're going to keep both Haskins and Rudolph with the presence of with Joshua Dobbs. I think that they're comfortable with Joshua Dobbs as a 3, and they might view one of these guys as draft capital. When you look at the fact that Joshua Dobbs went for a 5th-round pick 2 years ago to Jacksonville, week 1, it was right after week 1 when Nick Foles got hurt. Anything can happen when you've got a team looking for a guy. I would not be surprised if Mr. Colbert was on the phone with Atlanta today when that happened, or probably yesterday when they found out about AJ McCarron. There's a possibility that kind of stuff happens. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they do not have a lot of draft capital left. If you look at next year, they've lost a 4 because of Loudermilk. They lost a 5 because of the Avery Williamson deal. They gained a 7 in that trade. They've also lost a 6 just a week and a half ago with the addition of Joe Schobert. So they might possibly be doing that. I really think that they're going to trade Jordan Berry. I think they can get a 7th-round pick, especially what he did in preseason. They got a 7th-round pick for, what was his name? Brad Wing. For Brad Wing. So that's always a possibility. I don't think that any of the running backs are tradable at this point. When I'm talking about the running backs, I'm talking about the guys that they would be willing to give up. And I really think after Chase Claypool went down last week, I really think that what they would be doing at this point is not want to get rid of James Washington, that I think he's more valuable to what they might be doing in 2021 than not being on the team. Fellas, absolutely. Agree or disagree?
I agree about Washington. I would keep him around. As I keep saying, I think he can be their receiver version of Cam Sutton next year, because I think Juju is going to go for the big money, because there's going to be more salary cap space. So you keep a player like Washington around, and you give him promises for next year. Maybe, we have bigger plans for you next year. We're going to give you a raise, and you're going to get a chance to show you what you can do. That's what I would do.
A lot of people think it's a joke that I said you can get a 7th rounder out of Barry. Yeah, you can. You definitely, if somebody wants a punter bad enough, they'll spend a 7 on Barry. I mean, that would be a lot of 7s, but that's fine. I'm sure they're on the phone doing that. If you got it out of Brad Wing, you can do that as well. Bert Tavares said something really interesting. Trade Ray. Matthew Sexton I thought it was really interesting how Ray, when he took that pass after seeing what Matthew Sexton did on the return, when he took that short pass from Haskins, nothing was going to stop that man. He turned on the Jets. So, that's it. And Wes says, did you just say Stephon Gilmore? We can't afford his contract, let alone trade for him. Yeah, no way. It's not going to happen. So everybody get that out of your head. It's not happening. Was Ingram a luxury signing rather than a need? Dallas Quinley asked that. And he's talking about Mr. Melvin Ingram III, and I don't think so. I think he was a need. That's definitely not a luxury signing, because you cannot have 2 linebackers. How many times have we seen TJ Watt with the oxygen in the 4th quarter? They can't go all out for 4 quarters in this league and play the way that they do. That's just so. No, I think he's very valuable. I think he was brought in because they see the need for a very good piece at third. I think they're considering him a 3rd starter at edge linebacker, even though he's not going to be starting games. Your thoughts, Tony?
Oh, no, he wasn't a luxury at all. He was a need. They talked about it all off season. They talked about bringing somebody in all off season. And, they finally have him now that we're asking this question. No, you want a veteran like that. He's accomplished a lot. He has some injury issues, but that's why he's still around in July. But he can play the run. He can set the edge. And he has a history of being able to after the passer. So, no, that was definitely a need. I mean, the other guys they have are kind of unproven, right? I mean, so you have to, and Marsh is just basically a special teams guy who really hasn't done a whole lot as far as the pass rusher. So, yeah, that was definitely a need.
So did I mention the fact that did I thank Snowman for the $5? And did we talk about the Steelers and TJ Watt getting a deal done before the season starts? I'm losing my mind. So if I did not bring that up, I want to bring that up now. According to a Jerry Dulac, that this is a deal that's going to be happening either right before or right after the preseason game in Carolina to get that deal done. So I'm anxious to see the possibility of that. It seems like it's a done deal, but it seemed all along like it was going to be a done deal. But then you start to get doubt. You start to really worry about things when things go on. But it really seems like they're going to go ahead and keep TJ Watt in Pittsburgh with the contract and do it now instead of letting that go into the season where they don't normally make those moves. So with that being said, gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate all of your time, Shannon White and Tony Defeo. The live chat, we cannot do these shows without you. We appreciate it oh so well. I hope I got to all of your questions. If I didn't get to your question, we'll go ahead and we will definitely get to those questions throughout the week. Plenty of opportunities for you to ask questions. There's the Scobro show tomorrow night. There's Know Your Enemy coming up on Wednesday night. On Thursday, it's the Steelers preview. Friday. Tony, I didn't get a chance to ask you this. There's a game Friday night. So
you want me to do the play-by-play?
Go on early.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
I can do the play-by-play. Yeah, I can go on early. It all depends on the time, but yeah, I figured there'd be a change somewhere.
Boy, I just put Tony on the spot. That's bad management.
I knew I was going to be asked. I was thinking of times in my head, so I'm prepared. I'm prepared to negotiate.
All right, that's fine. I'll just tell you the Australians did that the other day. They went on early before the game, and they
Okay.
I actually joined them on that show. And then Mark Davison said, "Hey, check me out on Steeler Nation Australia. I'm just going to watch the game." And with some other guys from Steeler Nation Australia, and that's what they did. So I joined them for a couple of minutes, and that's what they were doing. They're just live and watching the game together, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. I mean,
I love to see those guys watch a playoff game live. That'd be really intense.
Yeah, it's they're indulging in as Marky D would call it, a sherbet, which I always thought that was like a fruity ice cream type dish, but no, it's a beverage. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely check us out also on the audio platform. There are so many more shows that you just don't get here on YouTube. So check them out anywhere you download your favorite podcast. Tomorrow will be Jeffrey Benedict with From the Cutting Room Floor. On Wednesday, it's the Fantasy Football Fix. On Thursday, you're going to have, I just talked about the Australians, you're going to have one Matthew Peveril, and Matty P is going to go ahead and give you the War Room. On Friday, it's the second edition of What Ian's Talking About, a really entertaining show. And speaking of entertaining, I love the Ohioans. I love these guys. When they go ahead with the Steeler Power Half Hour, that comes up on Saturdays as well. There's going to be so much Steeler content. Your head is going to swim with all kinds of black and gold knowledge. So definitely check it out. Not just a one-stop shop. It's a non-stop shop that is BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. We love our Steelers, and we love that you love our Steelers, and we love talking about it with you. So definitely check us out for all of that. So with that being said, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis, the podcast producer here at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Once again, thanks for joining us. For Tony Defeo and Shannon White, we will see you next week. And remember, we need 3 things from you. The first thing, number 1, is definitely stay safe. And I mentioned this yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and mention this again. Lost a good friend in scouting. As you know, I'm involved in scouting. Lost a good friend who's not a Steelers fan. A Ravens fan passed away. And when I think about it, we're all on the same team. We're all on the same team, that's life. And when I found out that this man passed away, you don't think of anything. You don't think about the team that he supports. You think about the great man that he was and all the good things that he's done in the community. So RIP to good friend Scott. And until we meet again, my friend. So definitely BTSC, bad company, hashtag bad company. All our friends in BTSC Nation, stay safe. Number 2, be true to yourself. And that's the most important thing, as well as staying safe. It's just as important, because you need to be you and be proud of being you. And that's why you're a part of this group, and we love you. And number three, always be behind the steel curtain. And I'm going to ask Tony this question. I'm going to ask Shannon White to follow it up to quote the great Rowdy Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. Just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Woo! Good night. We love you.